Okay, so now we have the first practicals. Let me first talk a bit about technical stuff. How do you submit your assignments? So we will use GitLab. This is a collaboration website, and it's actually based is university based. So you can find gitlab.com, but this is not the one. You can see the URL address. So it's gitlab.mff.cz. And since you all should have like a login into the central administration system, this login should also work for this website. So you should be able to log in. There is also like a small short guideline linked from
I guess we need to
maybe we,
you don't have it already. If you just use your credentials, log into this and we'll create an account.
Yeah.
And basically, until you do this, I cannot create the kind of submission repository for you. So be sure to do it as soon as possible. Let's say that by this Friday, I will kind of create the remaining accounts that you should get, or create these remaining repositories. You should get the repository. Otherwise, we will not find your code. You will still have access to all the examples and everything. You can start working with that, but until you create the account, you basically aren't able to get your stuff like this.
And you technically won't be able to submit the.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it should be fairly easy. We just want to make it clear that this is necessary.
Yes.
I know.
Basically, need to log in first. I'm saying here you will have something you never created, but it's just to already have.
Yes, and
who had
yes, also we kind of assume that you are familiar with using the Git tool. Anyone who hasn't ever worked with Git, I suppose not. If you have any questions regarding the Git workflow, let us know on Slack or.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's pretty common. So yeah, probably all of you already worked with Git many times. So
we want to get it. There's you should see it under like your I guess all of yours now. Right now here, or the ones that I created, but you should see the one that belongs to you in here. And again, there is this group for there's essentially a group called teaching / this code, and it's in there essentially.
yeah. Okay, can you show me workflow? Yeah, thanks. So yeah, let me just go briefly through the workflow of submitting of the assignments. So once you successfully log in, maybe this. First, the setting up the repository. Once you successfully log in, you will find your project and you can clone it to your local copy of the repository. Then you can just check that everything is all right with this command, remote show origin. You should see this origin in the repository. And this basically means that your remote kind of your repository is pointing to this address, and once you push the changes, will be pushed to this repository. And yeah, now the workflow for the assignment. So every time you should start from the master branch. If you have a good reason to start from another branch, for example, you have some changes you did in the past assignment and it wasn't merged yet, you can also start from a different branch, but by default, you should start from the master branch. You check out a new branch for each assignment, and it should be called HW, like for homework, and the name, the number of the assignment. So first one should be HW dash 01, something like that. Then you have obviously have to solve the assignment. So do the necessary changes or create the code and add the necessary files to Git. And once you are done, you commit and push your changes to the origin, to the GitLab. Once you are done with this, you also have to create the merge request. Once again, I suppose you already are familiar with this kind of concept. Just briefly, the merge request is something used to basically do a code review and check the changes between two branches in Git. So once you push the changes in a different branch, you click on the menu in GitLab, on the GitLab website, and you create a merge request, and then you select which changes you want to compare. So usually you will want to compare the branch with your new assignment with the master branch, and then you click create or something, compare branches and continue. And now we will see this merge request in the web interface, and we can check your changes and leave you some comments and leave you some points you got for the assignment. It's all pretty easy. You can find the guidelines on the website or let us know if something is unclear. Yeah, once we approve and leave the comments, you can also merge the merge request, which essentially merges your new branch to the master branch, and you can start with the new assignment from the updated master. Yeah, I guess that's it for the general workflow. And now let me, or do you have more comments?
No, I just,
Yeah, maybe.
So what we want is W1 that is.
Oh, okay.
And we will see here here as well. These are just some of these.
Yeah.
Really important to see out.
Yeah, maybe I haven't mentioned updating the from the upstream. Yeah, it might happen, and it probably will happen that we will make changes in the like parent repository, and in that case, you will need to do local changes to your repository. You should always do this on your master branch, and you just simply fetch the changes from upstream, which is our parent repository. And once you fetch the diff, you apply it with the git merge command. Again, it's fairly standard approach, and yeah, nothing novel about this. Just be aware that this will happen basically every time. So yeah, so every time you start with a new assignment, you should do this 3 steps. Yes. And now finally, or any questions? Good. So now finally, for the first assignment, this will be kind of like a warm up, not too hard, and to make you familiar with some basic concepts and some dialogue data. So your task will consist of 3 sub-steps. In the first step, you just need to get, or first, you will choose the data you want to work with. So we actually prepared a list. We have of like a recommended data sets you can find online. The primary you should choose from the first 8 or something of them. But if you don't like, for some reason, any of those, you can basically choose any kind of dialogue or dialogue related data you want. But yeah. But I mean, it's kind of exhausting list. So we hope you can find your favorite data set here. And yeah, just choose one. Yes. So once you find your favorite data set, you should do a couple of things with it. So first, we kind of want you to get familiar with the data. So the first step, we just want you to like mention or find out what kind of data it is, where you download it from, what was the procedure of the data collection they used when they created the data sets, and a couple more things. All of this is pretty straightforward. You just have to find out the information on the official website of the dataset, or sometimes in the data. Yes, for some of the datasets, there might be no annotation, or they might be no distinction between the system and user parts, etc. So we want you to kind of notice features like that. Yeah. For this question, what kind of dialog system component is designed for? I'm not sure if it's clear, but basically, yeah.
If you can't read record for the data, then you can just type the version of response. Might not be that one, but I'd say in most data sets, when you look at the data,
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah, basically, we just want you to spend a couple minutes with the data and think about it. Nothing too fancy. So after this brief introduction, I guess you will have to write some code. This is not like some complicated assignment, and you don't have to worry too much about your like code style here. Basically, we want you to compute some basic statistics about the data. So we want you to read the data from the files and to measure some statistics like the length of the data. Of course, we can measure length in different ways. So you can compute the number of dialogues, number of turns, number of distinct words, etc. If the dialogue distinguishes between user and system, we always want you to compare these numbers separately for the user part and for the system part. Then we want you to always also compute the mean and standard deviation of the dialog length. You compute it in the first step, and the vocabulary size. So this is basically the number of distinct words that you can find in the data. And the last step will be probably the most complex, but still pretty easy. We want you to measure the Shannon entropy for the user or the system terms. It was mentioned today. In the article.
So we want to essentially
Yes, and after you are done with all this, you should be kind of familiar with the data already, and you have some numbers in hand. So the first and the last sub assignment is we want you to basically think about the impression you get from the data. So, and write down like a few sentences or your thoughts about the data. So does it look natural to you? How do you think how difficult it is to model this data set or to learn it? And what performance can be achieved? Does the data look like a real world or very artificial to you? Or are there any limitations? Like perhaps it's just focused on one domain or just very close subset of some problems. So you should mention it in the limitations that, for example, if you want to use this data for some real world task, it's not kind of complete. So you probably would need to collect more data. If you want to actually deploy the system, you want to need stuff like that. Basically, just sorry, just think about it and write like a short paragraph about your impressions and personal opinion on the data you choose. And that's it. So just to summarize, you should complete all these 3 steps. And once you are done, we expect you to include basically 2 files. One should be like text file. You can use Markdown, or we prefer to use Markdown. So it's kind of formatted in some way. And this is basically all the results of your measurings and your comments and opinions and the initial data investigation, I would say. So this will be included in one file, and in second file, we want to see the code you used for measuring the numbers. And these 2 files you just add to the Git, commit, and push as we showed before. One last note I can think about: the data you choose now is just for this assignment only, and just for the purpose of this exploration. So it doesn't influence your future homeworks or projects.
It's by design and excluded the data set.
Yeah.
The other assignments. So right now it should look at the data sets contributed for. Yeah. Your own.
Yeah, and I guess that's it.
There's actually one more.
One more.
That is, you have if you look at the repository that you got, there is a reading file that has this, and I should put it on the course web page as well. But we are planning to work with automatic tests for like some basic sanity checks for your homework assignment submissions.
So before you submit, you can actually run some basic tests to figure out if you're not missing any files, or if the files look somehow reasonable. So this should help you. We will be running those tests as well, but it's not just the test that we will be checking. So don't worry, we will actually look at your submissions really like with our own eyes. This is just for us to find out if there's anything wrong with them, like before we before we look into, so that we're not like looking for your files all over the repository, so that we all know that they are in the correct place, and that they kind of look like they contain what they should be containing. I suppose in some of the next assignments, the tests might be more sophisticated, but we have to write them. So I'm not promising much below, beyond the basic checking that the files are there and they look correct. But it's good if you run this before submitting. I think you will save work yourself, and you will save definitely work for us, because it's really hard to like look for the files if everybody names them differently, and this type of thing. And one more thing, if you clone your basic repository, you can actually see that the files are there already, or like, sorry, it's not the. This is not the correct one. I mean, the file, some files are there already. It's just they're empty. So it's basically your task to fill the files essentially. So, and every time you update your repository from the upstream, you will find the file templates for the next assignments as well. I mean, yeah, once we put them there. So that's this thing, and so there's the automated tests, and actually there's one more kind of important information. The deadline for this assignment is 27th of October, which is I think it's slightly more than 2 weeks from now. I think it's Thursday, because Friday is a state holiday, and the deadlines are always midnight, like midnight our time zone. And every assignment will have a deadline. There might be extensions, but don't count on them. It's usually there might be extensions just because we didn't manage to do something in time. But so far, yeah, this one is like, it usually will be like 2 or 3 weeks for the time for each of the successive assignments. And one more important information that I kind of, I think I mentioned that before, but and I'm not sure if it's saying, yeah, it's basically what I'm saying is, what I want to say is that there will be like 6 assignments, and they will all have 10 points maximum. There might be one bonus assignment, or maybe 2, but you need to collect 40 points over the course of the semester. That's our so it's like more than half. And one more thing, if you don't submit by the deadline, you will get just half the points if it's less than 2 weeks past the deadline, and you won't get points if it's even later. We will obviously look at it. We will give you feedback, but without points. And the problem is that the assignments depend on each other. So even if you're like miss a deadline, you might need to do the assignment anyway to get points from the following assignments. So that's other point. And one last thing, if you need a deadline extension, you should have some kind of a reason, like if you were ill or something like that. Yeah, okay, that's probably a good enough reason to grant you an extension. But, it's not like there's like unlimited extensions available. It's just to kind of get you to actually do the assignments, because we definitely don't want everyone to do it like at the end of next September or something like that. That's definitely not the point here. So just kind of bear in mind that there are some rules and that you should get some minimum points, and that if you submit on time, you get all the points. If you submit late, you get less points or no points. That's the idea. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. If you submit early, okay, so. I mean, you can submit and you can update as many times as you want until the deadline. We will not check the assignment before the deadline. Okay. Okay. And obviously, if you have any questions or anything, if anything is unclear, definitely be sure to write us on Slack or shoot us an email or.
To deal with it on your own. I mean, okay, let us know.
Yeah, if you get stuck, then definitely come to us and ask us.
Not just something that might be
Yeah. So basically, what we're kind of in the ideal case, all your merge requests will be like the perfect code, which will give you full points, and everybody will be happy, and all the kind of problems and questions will be resolved beforehand. You can ask here, after the lecture, or during the next practical class. We will actually have the next practical class before the deadline, and that's by design, because by then you should have looked at the assignment and you might have questions, and so that's why we have it like this. And yeah, in any case, you can always ask on Slack, and there will be either me or Vojta or Zdeněk, and we'll do our best to help you. Okay, I guess that's probably it. I don't know. Do you have any other questions regarding this? Okay, in that case, thanks for coming, and I guess we'll see you next week. There will be just a lecture next week, but you can still, afterwards you can still ask about the assignment. And if you haven't got the GitLab account yet, please log on as soon as possible so you'll get the repository for you. Just